I personally have reviewed 401ks, as an analyst, and I've come across target date funds that are infinitely more expensive than an allocation that I could select based on index funds in that 401k. I mean, so people have been at a disadvantage in some cases for choosing a target date fund that's supposed to kind of just take care of them and have their back. And I just, reality is that's not always the case. And there can be less expensive options, allocations that we can build with very similar, if not better, diversification.
Yeah. So it brings up the point that within the traditional retirement platform, all products have some type of internal cost. Most products, I guess I should say, in the event that there was some mutual fund that waived its fees or didn't have internal expense ratio. But my guess would be that most of the products inside a 401k platform have some cost. And so it's important for investors to remember cost directly impacts performance. If you can keep the cost low, and the other recommendation is stay properly diversified, right? So cost low, properly diversified, and keep in mind, again, let's just touch back on the target date funds for one more second. If a fund gets more conservative over time and takes you almost to all bonds when you retire, well, is a predominantly bond portfolio appropriate for you as an investor if you're still going to live for decades in retirement? And so it's a reminder when you're working with your advisor to put your portfolio in context of not only the rest of your life. Retirement isn't the end. Retirement oftentimes is just the beginning of the next chapter. And you could live for another 30 years. So having, the appropriate balance between stocks and bonds is something that you likely want to control yourself as opposed to letting a product control it for you.
Right. Yeah, and that's where you see the mistake. Okay, what is your perception of risk averse versus Vanguard or Fidelity or T. Rowe Price, right? Because they could be very different, right? Like you as a conservative investor approaching retirement could be a 60% equity, 40% fixed income split. I don't know if it is the same at Vanguard or not, but that's, again, just one of the things with target date funds that I would highly, highly recommend any individual be aware of and look into.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are they're meant to be one size fits all. This is like going to a store and there's one size shirt, and that, not knowing you, this is the selection that you have. Obviously there's different dates, but for a 2055, let's just say pick on that. This is a one size fits all. They do not know you. They do not appreciate your other circumstances outside of this. Their job, that 2055 fund, I would almost assure you their job is to not ruin that so that they don't get sued by people saying my portfolio is down 20% in the year I was going to retire. That's their sole focus. That's their motivation. It's not to give you the best allocation or the best advice.